using two different metal coatings, but we'll get to that in a minute. First off, this is an old bronze bee that I found behind the shelf, and it's about a year old, and so this is a great opportunity for me to show you what happens when the metal coatings kind of just sit for a little while, and basically the top layer dries. It's much like many other paints, and basically all I'm going to do is take a little popsicle stick and break off this top layer here. You can see it's a kind of a hard shell, and I'm going to pull it out. I may strain it if I'm going to spray it. That would be a good idea just because it's a good idea to strain it anyways. But overall, I just kind of pull these little chunks out and then mix it up, and it's perfectly fine. It's just that the top layer dried. So there's nothing wrong with it. The only other thing that you can check for is if it maybe froze, and that would be get a solid clump inside. But let's get back to the video. So here we have a primed surface. This is just a tile, and I'm just going to kind of dump it on and try and get the bronze bead lathered all over the place. And I'm not trying for any specific kind of pattern or anything. I'm just trying to coat and get it completely covered. And in fact, I actually put too much on, so I'm going to end up taking some of it off. But you can see all these brush marks are in here and everything, and I'm not specifically trying to leave brush marks or take them out or anything. I'm just trying to make a Mod Podge here. So I took this rag and just kind of splotched some of it off, and it kind of gave me a cool texture. I kind of liked it. Took a lot of the extra metal coating off, so I know I'm wasting a little bit of it, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. I think it gave me a nice little texture and kind of a disruption of our solid color here, because we want to use two different ones. And so we're going to go in with the iron B metal coating. I'm just going to sponge it on. And so what do we mean by two different metal coatings? Well, really the bronze, brass, copper, and gold are in the same family. And so that's what we're talking about, is different families of metal coatings as far as how a patina reacts with it. The iron and the darkened iron, by that respect, are different than the bronze, brass, copper, and gold. The silver and pewter do not react, so that would be a third reaction, or a third category. In a previous video, we showed you how you could mix a lot of these to get a different color, and that's all fine and dandy here, but we wanted to layer them. I want areas where I have rust, and I want areas where I have green. So in this video, we're going to do some bronze, we're going to do some iron, and then we're going to switch gears a little bit and use a little bit of our gold as well. So when we go in with the gold, right now we're just trying to fill the gaps, and we're trying to block out a lot of that white. I could have just kept it all bronze and everything, but this is the route we went, and it gave us kind of a cool color. I'm really liking how those colors are playing with each other. So basically, I go back and forth for a little while, trying to build up this opacity and variance in different colors. I even went in with a little bit of silver, just thinking maybe it'd be cool if I didn't have some areas that did react. So I'd have, so the green, the rust, and then I'd have these silver areas. But then I immediately just over metal coated the silver, and it didn't really pan out by the end of this. But it is something that would work if you wanted just a silver to come through. So here we're just going to go with the bronze bee, the gold bee, and the iron bee. And the idea between a gold and a bronze, using both that is hopefully we get two different shades of Tiffany green, and that's why I wanted to do the two different ones. And so basically we're just hitting it with all three of those patina or metal coatings. And again, we're trying to do all at the same time because a patina reacts better on wet coating. That being said, iron is your dominant metal coating. So when in doubt, I would recommend to go less iron unless you want more rust in this case. So we're going to go with the Tiffany green while all this metal coating is wet, and then we're going to let it react overnight and see what we got. So you can see it looks like bronze is the dominant color, or gold is the dominant color on this piece, but check out after and the next day, and you can see that rust is really out there. It's a lot of rust in little green. So that's why I said the iron is the more dominant metal coating. So here we have a piece of hydrocal, and we're going to put primer on it. We didn't show this step earlier, but I think it's important to show when we talk about metal coatings, because I can't stress the importance of primer enough, especially on these porous substances or on actual metal like iron, if you're trying to make it look like a different metal. Very important. So here we're just going to brush out the primate, and then the next day we'll go in with our metal coatings. We're going to start with the Iron B on this one. And here I've already done one coat. This is a second coat actually. The Iron B, you'll notice when you're not spraying it, typically goes on thinner in comparison to the other metal coatings. It just kind of works out that way. That is a little bit on the thinner side. So I actually did 3 coats of this Iron B to get a complete opaque coating and block out all of the primate color. We're going to start going in with our Bronze B metal coating now. And the Iron B is still wet on this, and I'm just kind of trying to put it on there. And we are going to lose some of our details because I am going thick on this metal coating, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm just trying to show a process. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer whether we start with iron or start with the bronze, whether we want more or less green or rust in comparison. I'm basically just recoating this all with bronze, and then I'll go back with a little bit more iron as well. But it probably looks like it's a lot of overwork, but you can see some of this iron starting to blend in with the Bronze B. And so that's why I kind of dance back and forth until I feel like I got a good coat of bronze over the iron, but still having some of the iron showing. For those of you wondering if you can mix the Iron B in with one of the non-ferrous ones like bronze, brass, or copper metal coating, short answer is yes, you can. It doesn't necessarily merit one. It doesn't always give you the same look, right? So it could give us what we're going for here, more rust or more green, but you'd have to basically mix it incorrectly, like don't fully blend it. I've also had it just give me weird shades of green and rust, so it is kind of fun to mix it up and play with it a little bit. I would just do a test sample before you're ready to move on your final piece. But we're going to go in with the Tiffany green now, and we've effectively got 2 coats of wet Iron B and 2 wet coats of Bronze B, and now we're just going to hit it with the Tiffany green. The light green would also work for this. Tiffany green and light green both work really, really well over the metal coatings, and so both would be acceptable in this case. The next morning, this is what we have. You can see our test worked very well. We've got a lot more green in comparison to our last piece especially, but a lot less rust. So here we are putting the ClearGuard EF matte, and we're going to make sure we do 2 coats and get it nice and coated up. But I think it's important that you can also paint the Iron B and the Bronze B or whatever metal coatings you're using in specific areas if you want them in specific areas. Here we were just trying to get a more green look in comparison to our last sample. And here we have our final sample showing a lot more green with our 2 different metal coatings, both with the Tiffany green patina. Metal coatings are available at www.sculptnouveau.com or by calling us at 760-432-8242.